A Panzer IV sits burning on the Eastern Front. Inside, the crew didn't die from the shell that hit them. They burned alive because of a decision made in a Berlin office 3 years earlier. The Soviets watched their own tanks take the same hits. Their crews walked away. This wasn't luck. This was engineering. And it decided the war. Germany had the best tank designers in the world. They understood metallurgy, armor sloping, gun optics, everything. But they made one choice that would kill thousands of their own men. They chose gasoline. The Soviets chose diesel. By 1943, that difference wasn't just technical. It was the difference between a tank that fought and a tank that became a crematorium. But this isn't where the story begins. In 1939, Germany invades Poland with a tank force that terrifies the world. The Panzer WWII, the Panzer II. Light, fast, gasoline-powered. They aren't designed to fight other tanks. They're designed to move, to punch through lines, encircle armies, collapse nations before they can mobilize. It works. Poland falls in weeks, France in 40 days. The gasoline engines scream across Europe. High power-to-weight ratios, quick acceleration, perfect for blitzkrieg. And Germany's synthetic fuel plants, massive facilities turning coal into liquid fuel, are optimized for one thing: gasoline production. Diesel would require retooling. Delays, entire production lines rebuilt. In 1940, that seems unnecessary. The war is supposed to be over by now. But there is a diesel tank in the German arsenal. The Panzerkampfwagen II Ausf L. Lux, a reconnaissance vehicle. Light, diesel-powered using a Tatra engine derived from Czechoslovakian designs. Germany captured in 1938. Only 100 are built. Why so few? Because Maybach, Germany's primary tank engine manufacturer, doesn't make diesel engines, they make gasoline engines. Their factories, their tooling, their workforce, all gasoline. Switching means shutting down production. And in 1941, Germany is about to invade the Soviet Union. They need 3,000 tanks. Now, so they build what they know, Panzer IIIs with Maybach HL-120 TRM gasoline engines. Panzer IVs with Maybach HL-120 TRM gasoline engines. Fast, powerful, flammable. And what they don't know is that across the border, Soviet factories are building something different. June 22, 1941. Operation Barbarossa. German tank commanders encounter the T-34 for the first time near Grodno. They aren't prepared. Sloped armor that deflects rounds. A 76mm gun that punches through German tanks at 1,000 meters. And a V-234 diesel engine. The Soviets had spent 1930s mass-producing agricultural tractors with diesel engines. When war came, they adapted that experience. The V-2 engine was reliable, efficient, and, crucially, much harder to ignite than gasoline. A Panzer III hit in the fuel tank becomes a fireball. A T-34 hit in the fuel tank keeps fighting. German tankers start calling the T-34 der Frontschwein, the front pig. Crude, brutal, and impossible to kill. But Germany doesn't panic. Not yet. Because they have something better in development. August 1942, the Tiger I enters production. 88mm gun. Frontal armor 100mm thick. It's a monster. And it runs on a Maybach HL-230 P45 gasoline engine, producing 700 horsepower. Why gasoline? Same reason. Maybach can't make diesel engines at scale. Germany's fuel production is geared toward gasoline, and the Tiger needs power. 56 tons of steel demands it. The Tiger debuts at Leningrad in September 1942. It's effective, terrifying even, but it drinks fuel. 1.3 miles per gallon on roads, less in mud or snow, and when it's hit, it burns. January 1943, Battle of Rostov. A Tiger takes a hit from a Soviet 76mm gun. The round doesn't penetrate the armor, but it punctures the fuel tank. The gasoline ignites, the crew has seconds to make it out. By 1943, Germany realizes they need to match the T-34. They build the Panther, Panzerkampfwagen FAF, sloped armor, 75mm high-velocity gun, designed specifically to counter Soviet tanks, and it runs on a Maybach HL-230 P30 gasoline engine. Again, engineers propose diesel. The idea is dismissed. Why? Production capacity. Germany is losing the industrial war. Every month, Soviet factories churn out thousands of T-34s. German factories struggle to produce hundreds of Panthers. Retooling for diesel would cost months. They don't have months. So the Panther rolls off the line with a gasoline engine that requires constant maintenance, consumes fuel at an astonishing rate, and turns the tank into a death trap when hit. July 1943. Battle of Kursk, the largest tank battle in history. Germany deploys 200 Panthers. Within the first day, half are disabled, not from enemy fire but from engine fires. The Maybach HL-230 overheats, gasoline leaks ignite, tanks burn before they even reach the front line. Soviet T-34s, diesel-powered, mechanically simpler, keep moving. Kursk becomes a graveyard for German armor. And the Panther, designed to save Germany's Eastern Front, becomes a symbol of its desperation. Here's what nobody talks about. By late 1943, Germany's synthetic fuel production is under constant Allied bombing. The Luna plant, the Politz plant, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed again. Gasoline becomes scarce. Tanks sit idle, not because they're damaged, but because there's no fuel. Meanwhile, Soviet tanks run on diesel, which requires less refining, is easier to transport, and doesn't evaporate in storage like gasoline. A Tiger on abandoned near Smolensk in 1944 sits untouched. It's fully operational. It just has no fuel. The crew walked home. Summer 1944. Germany unveils the King Tiger, Panzerkampfwagen 6 Aus 4B. The heaviest, most powerful tank of the war. 68 tons, 150mm frontal armor, 88mm KWK-43 gun that can destroy any Allied tank at 2,000 meters. And it runs on a Maybach HL-230 P30 gasoline engine. The same engine used in the Panther, except now it's pulling 68 tons instead of 45. The engine is overworked, overheating is constant, fuel consumption is catastrophic, 120 gallons per 60 miles. August 1944, Normandy. A King Tiger moves into position near Villers-Bocage. It's hit by a British Sherman Firefly. The round doesn't penetrate the armor. But the fuel tank ruptures, the gasoline ignites. The King Tiger, Germany's most advanced weapon, burns like every other tank. And here's the irony. Germany could have used diesel. After the war, engineers admitted diesel engines would have worked. They would have reduced fire risk, improved fuel efficiency, extended operational range. But by 1944, it didn't matter. Germany had lost the industrial war, the fuel war, the numbers war. Diesel wouldn't have saved them, but it might have saved the men inside those tanks. Not every German vehicle used gasoline. The SDKF's-8 heavy tractor, used to tow artillery, ran on diesel. Maybach HL-85 2RM engine. Why? Because it was based on pre-war civilian heavy machinery. The Elephant tank destroyer, 90 tons, 200mm frontal armor, used electric drive, powered by two Maybach HL-120 TRM gasoline engines acting as generators. Why electric? Because Ferdinand Porsche, its designer, believed electric drive was the future. It wasn't. The Elephant was mechanically unreliable, broke down constantly, and when hit, its gasoline engines still burned. Only 91 were built. And then there was the experimental Porsche Type 245, a proposed super-heavy tank project. Diesel-powered. Never built. By 1944, Germany didn't have the resources to experiment. April 1945, Battle of Berlin. The last Panthers and King Tigers defend the Reichstag. Soviet IS-2 heavy tanks, diesel-powered, roll through the rubble. A King Tiger takes up position on Unter den Linden. It fires, destroys two IS-2s. Then it runs out of fuel. The crew abandons it. Soviet infantry find it hours later, intact, undamaged, out of gas. Across Berlin, the same story repeats. Dozens of German tanks, Panthers, Tigers, King Tigers, abandoned not because they were destroyed, but because there was no fuel to move them. Meanwhile, Soviet T-34s keep moving. They don't need much. They don't break often. And their diesel engines don't ignite like Roman candles when hit. Let's talk numbers. Germany produced approximately 6,000 Panthers, around 1,300 Tigers, around 490 King Tigers. The Soviet Union produced over 84,000 T-34s. Germany couldn't win a numbers war. But here's what gets overlooked. German tank crews died at higher rates than Soviet crews, not just because they were outnumbered, but because their tanks burned more easily. A study after the war estimated that 60 to 70% of German tank crew deaths were caused by fire, not ballistic penetration. For Soviet crews, that number was closer to 30%. Diesel didn't make Soviet tanks invincible, but it gave their crews a chance to escape. German tankers didn't always get that chance. So why didn't Germany switch? 1. Industrial inertia. Maybach had been building gasoline engines for decades. Their entire production infrastructure was optimized for it. Retooling would take 6 to 12 months and cost millions of Reichsmarks. 2. Synthetic fuel production. Germany's coal-to-liquid plants produced gasoline more efficiently than diesel. Changing fuel types meant redesigning the entire petrochemical supply chain. 3. Cold weather performance. Diesel engines struggle in extreme cold. The Eastern Front saw temperatures drop to matter 40 degrees Celsius. Gasoline engines, despite their flaws, were easier to start. Soviet crews dealt with this using preheaters and engine blankets. German logistics couldn't support that. 4. Desperation. By 1943, Germany was losing. Every decision was a compromise. Diesel engines might have been better, but better doesn't matter when you're already losing. Let me tell you about Oberleutnant Michael Wittmann, the most successful tank commander of the war. 138 enemy tanks destroyed. June 1944, Normandy. His Tiger I takes a hit from a British Sherman Firefly. The round penetrates the engine compartment. The gasoline ignites. The Tiger explodes. Wittmann and his entire crew die instantly. The Soviets had a saying, German tanks are good, but they burn well. And they did. Thousands of them. Not because German engineering was bad, but because one decision, made in 1930s Berlin, prioritized speed over survival. By May 1945, the war is over. Allied engineers examine captured German tanks. They're impressed by the optics, the armor, the gun design, but they all ask the same question. Why gasoline? The answer was always the same, because we couldn't afford to stop. And that's the lesson. Wars aren't won by the best technology. They're won by the side that can keep producing technology, even if it's flawed. Germany built the best tanks, the Soviets built the most tanks, and in the end, quantity beat quality. Not because diesel was a miracle fuel, but because survival is about more than engineering. It's about logistics, resources, choices made years before the first shot is fired. The Panzer IV was a marvel. The Tiger was a legend. But they burned. And that's how one fuel type, chosen in peacetime, that decided who lived and who died when the war came.